So we are soon going to be starting. Before that, are we having any doubts? Because so far we have done a map, we have done a process. Okay, so we discussed some of the strategies, and then we did a map as well as a map process and a map. And then we completed one line graph. And today we are going to be doing one bar as well as a combination chart of having a pie as well as a table. Okay. So these are the two tasks that we are going to be doing today. Before that, is there anyone having any questions? You can also unmute and speak in the class in case you want to ask something. And then we are going to be starting with the class.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Abraham.
Yes, Ibrahim. Yes, go ahead.
This is my first class because I was told by Surabhi that I can join from today onwards. So
Okay.
I have missed all the writing tasks that you completed, and for example, a map process and line graph, etc. So I hope I would be able to get those lessons back, maybe right in the coming days as well.
Don't worry, you would be having access to the recordings,
No,
and
but
every
yeah,
lecture has been
that's fine.
uploaded.
But I also wanted to see, I wished I would attend the live classes as well because that is what I was promised.
Yeah, it is the live class, so don't worry about it. And so today we are going to be doing these two tasks. In case you've missed it and you have any doubts or anything, you can just ask it now in the class at the end of the session. And the other thing is that if this task, are you having your test anytime soon?
Not very soon, but then I hope to take it, the last week, during the last week of May.
And are you taking all the batches? I mean, 11, 7, and 9:30?
No. I'm planning to stick only at 7 p.m. batch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be briefing actually to everyone so fast so that you can just get a gist of it. And then once you would be going through the recordings, you guys can understand better. Okay. So first of all, it is for everyone. It is small briefing. Okay. So you can understand what you've done so far. Okay. So we are going to be starting. So now whenever any question would be emerging, you guys can just ask it. Okay. So first of all, task one is going to be let me start the recording first. Okay, so in the writing
Recording
module, we
in
have
progress.
two tasks. One is going to be a task one and a task two. In the task one, you would be getting report writing. So report writing is always going to be a report where you would be getting these different types of tasks. Okay, I'll be coming to it later. So 150 words would be written, and upper limit is not there, but you are always recommended to write less than 200 words. Reason being, you are time constrained. You have 20 minutes to complete this task. So that is the reason, in order to make sure you are utilizing the time properly, spend at least 2 to 3 minutes analyzing your task before you start writing it, and then 2 to 3 minutes for proofreading the task. Okay. So now what is proofreading? Proofreading is rechecking the draft that you have prepared so that you can find some of the errors. Those errors could be grammatical errors. Those errors could also be spelling errors. Okay. And then you would be spending 14 to 15 minutes writing the task. Now it is quite doable because you have already analyzed your task and you are going to be writing only 150 words. Okay. Now the different types of tasks, you would be getting a table, you might get a pie, line, or bar as well, or you can get a combination of any of these above mentioned. Okay. Then a process or a map. Now, though you have these 7 types, you would be getting only one task in the actual test. Any questions? Any questions so far? I or N in the chat. When this kind of question is asked, you are supposed to be answering by Y or N in the chat so that I can just move to the next part. Ibrahim, are you having any question?
No, mom. My name is Abraham. You can call, not Ibrahim.
Sorry, Abraham. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but I haven't seen real sample of a table, how the table has been, in.
Don't worry, because you would be having, right?
Yeah.
If you go down. So the structure is going to be as for all the tasks. Though you have 7 different tasks, the structure is always same. You need to write an introduction. Introduction is always going to be paraphrasing the question, and you need to rewrite the question using your own words. Now, paraphrasing always, all you have to do, a question is given, you have to rewrite that question using your own words, and you are not supposed to be borrowing the words from the question. Of course, there are nouns or something, you would be using those words the way they are given, okay, proper nouns or nouns. After that, you would be writing an overall. Overall is going to be the main highlights of the task, the main trends of the task, the things that are very evident in the task, you are going to be writing them, but you would not be mentioning any data to support that information. Then you move to body paragraph 2. This is the part where you would be mentioning the main features of the task. Whatever trends you're seeing, you would be now using data to support those main features in the task. Give me a second. Sorry, yes. So you would be mentioning the main features of the task, but you will not be using the data in the overall. However, here you need to mention the details using the data. In case you don't use the data, it will be impacting your score. Some of the important things you need to keep in mind: never write a conclusion, because instead of a conclusion, you are writing an overall. Okay, it is suitable for a task 2, not for a task 1. Okay. No personal remarks. For example, this trend looks great. It is quite an overwhelming change in this area. You are supposed to be making those kind of remarks. Avoid using personal pronouns I, we, you, they, because you don't need to use them at all, because you're not giving your opinion. Once that is done, we started with the process. Okay, the process is going to be, you would be having some number of steps you would be following. This is how a process looks. Okay, and you can see certain steps are happening. For example, just understand what is a process. Process is you follow certain steps to get a certain result. Just imagine that you are in a college and you want to get enrolled, right? And what do? You follow certain steps and eventually you get admission, right? And that is what we call a process. And a process has been written for you. As you can see, 4 paragraphs have been made and we have followed the same structure here. Okay. And once that is done, you are looking at a map. Map is always a map of a building. It could be a public facility, usually public facilities only. And you would be having at least 2 of the maps. One would be in the past, second would be in the present, or the combination can be 2 maps in the past. For example, this one, it is in 2007 and 2010, which means both maps are in the past only. Okay. The combination can also be present plus future. Okay. The planning for the future, that can be there. Okay, Prerna, let me see which sentence are we talking about here. Let me see. Let's proofread it. The left and right part can be a little confusing for me, to be honest. So where we are talking about, can you just point me toward the sentence?
Yeah, it's the last line. On the contrary, a separate public car park was developed with a separate entrance on the left side of the city hospital.
Right one, right.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, for detection. Yeah, it's really right. Okay, so a map is always going to be layout of a place. Past combination can be there. For example, we got here, it could be past plus present. How, let's say, city hospital road system was in the past and how it is at present. And it can also be how city hospital road system is at present and the changes that have been proposed for the future. Okay. You need to understand these kind of things because you would be choosing tense accordingly. It is really important. Practical range and accuracy is 25% of your score. Okay. Now comes charts and graphs.
1 second, ma'am. I have a small doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the introduction, right? The given layout, and immediately you're given overall. So can this overall be given as a conclusion at the last paragraph?
Can be. It can be. It can be the last paragraph as well. It is up to you, whatever paragraph you want to make it.
All right. Okay.
Yes. Okay, then we have charts and graphs. Again, analyzing is really important. Always understand the timeline just to make sure you're using the right tense. You need to understand whether your task in the past, present, or in the future, because it is really important. These are some of the examples, right? The example, in case these years are given, for example, you have given 1990. So obviously you need to use a past tense. You can't really be using present tense for that. Similarly, if 2024 is given, you will be using a present tense. On the other hand, if you have been given 2030, you would be using combination of present and future. Okay, because I've also given you some examples here, right? Why you would need to use present tense for a future task. For example, it's predicted to increase, estimated to go up, right? Estimation and prediction, all these are related to future. Okay. Though you're using a present tense, you are talking about something that would happen in the future. Okay. So these are all the things you would be paying attention to. And in case you have to also imagine a scenario, in case, let's say, year is not mentioned in the question, how would you be knowing which tense is to be used? You need to look at the question state. What tense has been used in the question statement? You need to read that, then understand, okay, this has been given, this tense has been used in the question statement, so I need to use this, okay? It will help you know. 90% of the time you would be using present tense only if in case a year is not mentioned, any timeline is not mentioned. Again, do not just make a guess or anything. You need to understand eyes, okay? Then you would be asking yourself one question that, what data has been given to you? Do I have a percentage? Do I have certain currency with me? Or do I have some measurement units? Once you have recognized, okay, I have been given percentage, then you would be asking another question that, what does this percentage represent? What is it representing? That is the question you would be asking. So for example, let's say you've been given percentage, you have two things going on. One is people spending money on the following, then you have these stuff, right? So you can't really say that percentage of people buy food, right? So I have written wrong here. Okay. So for example, there's people spending money on food. Obviously, it would be people spending money. So 20% of people spending or buying food, right? So buying would be what is being bought, food is being bought. We can't really say 20% of food. That would not make sense because this data is representing people, not food or any other item that has been given in a task that you are writing. Got it? This is how you have analyzed your task, and then you would be start writing. And then this is what we did the other day. This was one task we completed. It is a line chart. Don't worry about it. So graph has been done. Today we are going to be focusing on a bar graph. Okay. So steps would be taken. All the steps we took here, we are going to be taking the same steps here as well. Okay. So be ready to contribute to the class and also ask the doubts if in case you would be having any. Okay. So are we ready to start writing, everyone? Any questions? Perfect. So let's start. So the task is saying, is it clearly visible? Is it visible enough for you to recognize the trends and the data?
Yeah, it is.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start and let's read the question. What is it saying? The chart below shows the results of a survey about people's coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 Australian cities. This is the question. Again, never pay attention to this part because this is just an instruction that has been given to you, that you need to select and report the main features, which we will be doing in the body paragraph as well as in the overall. Make comparisons where relevant. Again, comparisons are to be made where the comparison is relevant. So do not over observe making sense. Okay. So that is what you need to understand. Now look at this task. Take 1 minute or maybe 30 seconds and then tell me what is the timeline in this task. You would be answering it in the chat. Okay. If anyone wants to speak, you need to raise your hand. Past, 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 past. Very good. Very good. Yes, right? If you look at the question, there is no indication that which tense is to be used. Even after reading the question, you would not know. But when you go to the categories that have been given to you, you are seeing this part, that is last 4 weeks, right? Which means we are going to be talking about the past, something that happened in the past, okay? And we need past tense. So timeline here being past. Okay. That has been recognized. Now look at this again and tell me what data has been given to us. What data do we have? Percentage. Okay, that's good. Now, what is this percentage representing? What is it representing? Percentage of residents. Residents. City. Drinking habits and 5 count. So are you saying, like, Prerna, the percentage is for drinking habits? Ankita is saying percentage is for city. Residents. Yes, the percentage is for residents. Okay, it is clearly written. Coffee. Yes. Coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 cities in Australia, right? And it is saying that bought fresh coffee in this. So percentage of city residents is clearly written for us, right? So which means percentage of people event. That is the answer for this one. Which means your sentence construction will be completely all right if you would be following that. Now let's start writing. In order to paraphrase the question, in order to write the introduction, we just have to paraphrase the question. Now the question is saying, the chart below shows the results of a survey about people's coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 Australian cities. Write your answer in the chat. In the meantime, I will also write my introduction. Okay. Write the introduction in the chat. So whenever you paraphrase the question, it is really important that you specify the type of task that you're doing. Since it is a bar, I have written bar. Okay, always specify the type of the task is in an important part of the task. Okay, so we can say reveals. What we can say for the, we have survey. Can we have synonym for that? Result of a survey, we can say the findings of a survey. Please tell me if I am practicing by myself different writing models. How should I check this proof? Inka, can you please keep this question at till the end? I think it would be better. Otherwise, it would be confusing, right? For the students. Okay. Don't worry, I will answer this question. Just remind me at the end of the class. Okay. So findings of a survey. Now, what this survey is about regarding the given bar chart depicts about the percentage of residents' consumption of drinking habits. Consumption and drinking both are same, right? So drinking habits in Australia, the outcomes of a survey conducted on people's acquiring and drinking habits of coffee and tea in 5 Australian cities are laid out in the bar chart below. Good, Vanshi. Just the part where you have mentioned acquiring. Okay, it's really because we never say that I'm going to the market to acquire coffee, right? So it does not make sense. So it's okay. You can simply mention buying and drinking. Okay, that is completely all right. Okay, the bar graph represents the habits of people who are purchasing and drinking tea and coffee in 5 Australian cities. Okay, we did not mention anything about the survey part, Prerna. The bar graph illustrates the drinking habits of tea and coffee of the individuals from 5 cities. Simran, there is a mistake. Illustrates the habit of people who drink and buy coffee. Okay? Who drink and buy coffee. Regarding. Okay, so because you would be using a different form of the same word. Okay? Regarding the tea and coffee, buying and drinking habits in five cities in Australia. Okay, so if we are repeating 5 Australian cities, we are doing the same thing. And don't worry about the drinking and buying part, because we don't need to particularly change those. Okay. Reason being, as I mentioned, vocabulary in task 1 is always tricky. This is not the area where you should be doing a lot of things. Always focus on sentence variation, okay, rather than just making sure you're using words that which are not making sense. So, for example, acquiring or purchasing, okay. Given in case it's okay when paraphrasing, don't be really, you could say, experimental. When explaining the task at that time, you can use 1 or 2 words that, for example, like purchasing, okay. The given bar illustrates output of a survey, outcome of a survey regarding people's apostrophe s buying and drinking habits. What are they buying? Deepika, you need to specify in 5 Australian cities. In 5 cities, or you could say that I also have something else. Of those living in 5 cities in Australia. Okay. So this is how we are paraphrasing the question. Good effort, everyone. Now we need to write the overall of the chart. Now, in order to write the overall, we need to find some of the trends. Okay. Look at this task and what are the trends you're saying? Whoever wants to speak, you would be raising your hand, then you would be speaking in the class. Okay. It is not something that you are supposed to be mentioning in the chart. Okay. So look at this task. When we are analyzing this task, what are we seeing? First of all, these are the biggest bars we are seeing, right? Basically, it is for people who went to cafe. That is the one trend that is quite visible. Other trend is these black bars, right? The darker black bars, because they are the lowest one, right? Now, what this bars are, what are these representing? They are representing bought fresh coffee. The bar graph illustrates the information on residents who buy and drink coffee and tea habits in this. Then you don't need to put habits word, okay? Illustrates information on residents who buy and drink coffee and tea in 5 cities in Australia. Habits can be removed, Madhuri. Otherwise, it's a good effort. Okay, now who wants to mention some of the trends here? You can unmute, raise your hand, okay? Then I would make you speak. Only those who would be raising the hand would be speaking. Okay, Prerna, go ahead.
The highest bars of went to cafe for coffee or tea in the last 4 weeks is of Melbourne and Hobart. And the lowest trends are of the bought fresh coffee in the last 4 weeks. That is Brisbane and Adelaide, if I'm pronouncing it right. And the instant coffee in the last 4 weeks, it has the the highest is in Brisbane and Hobart.
So basically the highest things we are seeing here, right? Highest number of people we are seeing, they are basically in where? In all cities, right? That is basically going to cafe. Lowest being fresh coffee, right? Fresh coffee. Right? And something in the middle being some people who bought instant coffee. Now, you have 2 ways to write the task, okay? One is certainly this where you mentioned one highest and the other one lowest. Okay. One highest, right? And the other one lowest. And the other trend you would be talking about in case you want to write it, where you cover everything in the task. Okay. Basically, when we say cover, rather than just talking about people visiting cafe, people buying coffee, instant coffee, fresh coffee, right? You can focus on other things that focus on cities because we are talking about people here, but what is happening in each city. Okay, look at this one trend that is happening here. Let's talk about the first one only. So we are seeing these bars, right, everywhere in all the cities. One trend is really visible, that most people are visiting the cafe. That is the main trend we are looking at. But look at this, a tiny bit of difference here, right? Now, this is the only place we are seeing in this one, Adelaide. What is happening? It is, it is not as much. It is highest in every city, but it is not highest in Adelaide. That is one of the trends we can mention. Okay. So in that case, now the trends being, one trend is going to be this one where you mentioned one highest, that most people visited the cafe, while the lowest number of people bought fresh coffee, right? That is one of your trends. Okay, other trend could be where you make a comparison. You can say that, for example, visiting a cafe was most common or most popular in all cities, uh, visiting a cafe for buying tea and coffee, sorry, for buying or coffee and tea was most popular in all cities, then we would mention the exception here. Okay. Except Adelaide, buying instant coffee was most common, or was comparatively, was relatively more common.
Yeah, ma'am, but the teats is not mentioned right there.
Can you please come again?
No, it says bought fresh coffee in last 4 weeks, right? The first one. I mean, yeah. Or maybe the down one. I'm not able to see. Can you just go up a little bit because the last one which is mentioned in the graph is not visible. The symbols.
Basically, what are we talking about first? For the this part of the screen or this part of the screen?
Talking about the graph, bar chart.
Okay. Okay, yes, please. Now tell me the question. Should I clear it a bit?
Uh, yes, I think you have to bring it. I mean, you have to take it little top upper part.
Okay, you are on Zoom. Okay, you can move your screen as well.
Yeah, now I think again gone down. I mean, gone down. Yes, I think it makes sense. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's fine because I wasn't able to see the last one.
Okay, but you have, that you can move the screen with your finger in case you're on the phone.
But
Okay.
I was trying, but I'm using my laptop.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so visiting the cafe, though it is a very small visible trend, right? It is not much of a trend that is really visible. Even it is not much. That is the reason we mentioned relatively more common. Okay. So visiting a cafe for coffee and tea was most popular. Let's write most common here and popular over there. Most common in all cities except Adelaide, where buying instant coffee was relatively more popular. Right, like that, because that is always, for example, if you're not able to cover your task like that, you can always mention the highest and the lowest. This is the easiest way. You can always find the trends in the task. Okay, always mention the highest and the lowest in case you think you can't really find something particular. In that case, you could simply say that while visiting a cafe is, let's take the same thing. case, what you would be doing visiting a cafe for tea was most common almost in all cities. Because now you are talking about this exception because it is not most common in Adelaide. Okay, so you mentioned almost in all cities. Last one is buying instant coffee was the least preferred option. Okay, this is the other way you can mention. Okay, buying instant coffee was the least preferred option. Just correct it.
Fresh coffee is the least, right?
Sorry.
The least one is the black one, right?
Yes,
The
yes. This is buying a fresh coffee.
yeah, instead of instant coffee, it would be fresh.
Yes, yes, yes. Least preferred option. So this is how you can cover that. Got it? Anyone having any question about the main trend of this task? I'm removing this one because this is quite common and we are keeping one right now. Okay, this one. So now, once you've done that, you have mentioned the main trends here. Now you need to start writing the task. Now, division of the task can be in both two ways. One way is going to be you talk about first going to cafe, then buying instant coffee and buying fresh coffee. That is one of your option. One paragraph would talk about, let's say, going to cafe. Other body paragraph would talk about these two options. And the other option being that you take cities, 3 cities in one body paragraph, while 2 cities in another body paragraph. Okay. Now, which option do you think would be better? Mention it in the chat. Which would be better? Shall we go city-wise or shall we go, let's say, these category-wise? Overall, in all the cities, most of the people went to the cafe, but some didn't go right. But the later part of the overall can be better, Simran. The first part is better, but the later part can be improved. Okay. Cafe. So, Prerna, are you saying we should go category wise? Good. Good, actually. Because otherwise you would be repeating these in the name of the cities a lot. Okay. Wise decision would be that you go category wise. One category in one, 2 categories in another body paragraph. Okay. Now, if let's say we have to divide that in first body paragraph, we need to just write one category. Which category we should write in first body paragraph? We have these. When I say category, I'm talking about these 3. Okay. Out of these 3, which we should mention in the first body paragraph? Mention it in the chat. Cafe. Went to cafe. Perfect, because those are showing quite a few trends, right? Visiting cafe in all cities is like, quite a few, having quite a few trends in them. So let's talk about those first, okay? These bars first, and then we would move to the other one, okay? So now let's recognize the trends as well. Now, it is not important that you childishly, like a childlike writing where you are mentioning everything. Okay, in Sydney, it was this much. In Melbourne, it was this much. Brisbane, this much, right? That would be childish writing. What you will be doing, try to group information. You need to group information and find the trends. Now, how would you be grouping? You can group in these way, okay? First, you can always mention range. For example, these two can be grouped together because they are not having much difference, right? They are close to 65, right? Almost 64. And this is just following that only. Here we can mention range. Here as well, it is actually this one as well. These 3 can be grouped together. And these 2 can be mentioned together. And you will be done with that. Hardly you need to write 2 or 3 sentences and your first body paragraph would be done. Yes, good observation right now. Okay, now let's see. So first try. So what is happening in this one? So it is almost 55%. And here we have almost range. Let's talk about the main trends first. Let's talk about the range first. Okay, in Sydney, Melbourne, and Hobart. Robert. Now what you can see, what is the range we are seeing here? Can you guys mention the range we are seeing? If we have to mention the range, what is the range we are seeing for this particular trend? In all cities, what is the range for the percentage?
60 to 65.
Yes, something. Yes, 60 to 65, almost 62, almost 61 to 64, right? Exactly. If we don't mention, it is this higher than 60, and this is little you could say lower than 65. So something between 61 to 64 we are getting. Okay, don't worry, we can always use those you could say like almost around approximately. Okay, so let's see the percentage of residents visiting cafe for tea and coffee ranged between 61 to 64, right, percent. Right, that is the range we are mentioning. Now you can say you're done with 3 countries just because that. Okay, then you can talk about what is happening in the other 2 cities as well. Okay, so we can say that now this trend is being followed by which country? Which country is following this trend? Follow simply means what is the next data that you see? Number, what is the next data we are seeing? Followed by which country? Sorry, which city? Brisbane, right? Followed by, we have almost, we can say 55%, around 55% in Brisbane. And just below half. What is this Adelaide? Right? And we are done with that. Anyone having any question?
Yes,
This
I do
particular
have.
sentence. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's not related to particular sentences, but then my understanding, because I'm reading some article, I mean, some write-ups and all, we are not supposed to repeat the words, right? Because here we can see you are repeating, sitting a cafe, tea and coffee. So I could see so many places for coffee and tea. So are we allowed to do that? Or I don't know about it. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, no, perfect question, to be honest, because actually in the task one, you don't have choices. That is why you don't need to worry about the repetition of words as much. Your focus should be using different kinds of sentence structures. Okay, so for example, they said went to the cafe. When are they saying visiting a cafe? This is the word that we have bought, right?
Yeah, I know. The problem is that, we have repeatedly used this cafe and then tea and then coffee. So can we use something
No.
else?
These are proper nouns. If I use other word, then it would be impacting my score. What else can I call tea? Else can I say coffee? These are proper nouns. For example, my name is Pawan. Can it be changed? If you would be changing, I would be minding. Right? So proper nouns can't be changed. Coffee is always coffee. It cannot be changed.
No, instead of tea and coffee, why can't we say about the drinks, right?
No, it doesn't make sense because drink could be any drink, right?
Yeah, it could be, but then when it's being checked by an examiner, she or he understands what we are referring to it, what particular drink we are referring to it. It could be, I don't think they can think of anything else except the tea or coffee, because
They
that's
are
what
very
it's mentioned.
lexical resources 25% of your score. Vocabulary is 25% of your score. You can't play with these words. As I mentioned in the beginning when I was teaching, that in the task one, you have limited option with that. Be experimental with vocabulary in the task two, because the examiner would be looking at those tasks together only. They are not going to be separately to the person. Okay, here focus on sentence structure, variety in sentence structure. That is what we need to work on. For
But
example,
then
here we
one of
used
the
our relative
parameters,
clause.
right, ma'am? What are the criteria, right? For one of the parameters is related to Lexis as well, right?
Yes, it
Even for the
is.
question number 1, isn't it?
Yes.
But then if you're saying we have to focus mainly on the types of test sentences, I do not know, because I'm just, I just got into it and I was watching a couple of videos, and from there, whatever I have understood, so I'm just sharing it because.
It's completely all right, as I mentioned, but we need to also be mindful with those things. Okay, it is not right to say drinks. It is not at all right.
No,
Being
there could be
specific is
something better
important,
than drinks as well. Okay, fine, no problem.
right? Then what would be better? Hot drinks, right?
Yeah, could
There
be.
is no word for that. I don't say I'm going to buy a hot drink. Do I do that? No, right? Coffee is coffee, tea is tea.
Okay.
Beverage can be anything, Renu. Beverage can be anything. Okay. Beverage can be anything.
Yeah,
As I mentioned, it is
no,
not
ma'am,
like
you are
lexical.
absolutely right. Beverage can be anything. But then when somebody is looking at it, somebody is evaluating these answers, they would understand what we are really referring to it, right? Because it's mentioned in the bar chart, it's coffee and tea. So, I mean, tea or coffee, so nothing else. So we are trying to substitute those two words, coffee and tea, with something else. So they would be in a better position to understand why have we used that particular word, right?
No, for example, we are mentioning a trend here. When I will be talking about instant coffee, would I imagine that the person recognize that? I would have to mention instant coffee for that as well.
Yeah, no
Then I
problem.
would mention fresh coffee as well, because how else am I supposed to mention the person? This is the trend I'm talking about.
Yeah, those were my doubts. Fine, no problem.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Though that is the reason we can focus on sentence structure and how we are putting that word in a sentence. That is what we can work on. Okay. And don't worry, when we always proofread the task at the end of, when you say that something has been repeated multiple times, that is the reason we are proofreading the task. No, always try to make sure the proximity also matters. In case you're doing, for example, that was the reason we mentioned, we went city wise, right? If we had we did not go city wise, otherwise I would have mentioned what first happened, what happened in Sydney, then I would have used the same word what happened in Melbourne. That was the reason we grouped the data like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see the next one, and the next trend we can talk about. If we talk about this trend, the second one we are talking about, let's say